So typically, quantitative investing. Let me give you a brief profile of mine. So I've been part of the investing world from 2005. Started with Citibank, and then with Barclays, and then with a prop fund based out of Mauritius. So whole life, what I did is trying to analyze data, and then trying to come out with a rule, and then execute that rule through like an algorithm in the market. And so typically time frame for executing from idea generation to execution was around 9 months to 12 months. And once the idea is executed, if the opportunity is lost, that algorithm, that the whole rule doesn't make any sense. So again, end of the day, what is required, what is there in the quantitative investment is what we need is the data and the forecasting method and what are the risk filters and then the excess return. That's where a whole algorithm makes sense. So when I was working, typically we used to collect data from a standard factors, the global market data, and then prepare an algorithm and execute it. So right now, if you compare from 2005 and 8 to 2020 22, there's so much of data. Typically this data is, if you use the data properly, that's a gold mine, right? So how are you going to use the data? Typically you have macroeconomic data, which takes the top-down, bottom-up approach of the economy, and then you have the quantitative data, and then you have the sentiment data, and you have the fundamental data wherein you read the balance sheets and the P&L. So the whole of quantitative investment, which is typically, earlier it was discretionary and then moved to a rule based. Right now we're moving to a more big data based, which are more of machine based algorithm developed. Idea generation with trade execution is done by machines. So So it's the kind of data right now we're talking about. When I was working, we used to take around 15 to 20 factors, and right now, if we talk about Hashloop itself, we look around 15,000 to 20,000 variables which affects the market, right? And and look at for excess return and then backtest it. You have 86,000 algorithms every day which are at an execution stage. So these are the kind of development which are happening across. Now again, end of the day, that's machine learning. The only drawback for machine learning methods is these are all black box. Even including us, the developers of it. For us also, we don't know what are the factors involved or what is the kind of the combination of formulas involved for which an algorithm is developed. And that's how it is. Majority of the large institutions today across the globe, there is some form of machine learning AI there, but not to the fullest. But at the high frequency space, we do not have the sufficient infrastructure wherein machines to machines interact with on an intelligent basis. Only using computer intelligence. There is some sort of a discretionary. But by 2025, I see the hardware also kind of getting into uh, you have people like Nvidia giving us that kind of hardware, wherein a latency of less than a minute. Also, you have an intelligent machine taking decisions by themselves. So now we are all talking about a hedge fund levels. At an institutional levels, what hedge group typically does is we collate all the data, uh, which are from 1 minute to a 1 hour data to a 1 day data, and we do the whole modeling, and we generate portfolios and give it as a managed futures across the globe. So the whole research, we are actually bundling it and then giving it to the brokers, and brokers will actually execute the deals for the clients. So this is all happening at a portfolio level. You're talking about an institutional level hedge fund grade research coming down to a retail levels, and retail guys are able to execute, with the same level of sophistication or the data requirement. So the whole of cost involved in preparing those algorithms are actually significantly come down, and I see that cost coming down significantly in the next 3 4 years also. It's only that it would be only a black box algorithm for us and for the end user also. Uh, so that's how it is. And today, anybody across the globe, across any asset class, they can use our algorithms and backtest it. You'll have the whole data and then executable, right? So this is how it is. End of the day, you know, a simple 30,000 feet. This is what we do, and that is how the whole quantitative investment also is happening. Over to you. Hello. Can you hear me, Aditya? Okay. So let's go ahead. So again, with regard to trends in quantitative investments, you see a lot of discretionary powers, discretionary level judgments going out, and we see a lot of machine-to-machine investments happening, machine-to-machine decisions happening, and at the end of the day, that is getting scaled down to retail investors too, and you see number of algorithms in the future. They are actually trading themselves by themselves, and but at end of the day, algorithm which is being herded, just I don't see there is any excess return. End of the day, excess return is, if you algorithm should be able to derive that return more than the market, and if market is already factored in those kind of intelligence, I don't think but 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 I think these kind of super intelligent algorithms developed by machines are going to be in rise. I'm done, Aditya. Anything? Aditya, what do you? Can you hear me?
Hello.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I think we can take questions. Maybe.
Audience, if you have any questions, there's a ask a question button on the screens. So, just a minute, Vishnu. Audience, if you have any questions, we just have a few minutes, so please quickly put up those. So, in the meanwhile, Vishnu, why don't you tell us more about your prior experience and also your thoughts behind setting Hashloop and what you've been doing with this?
So that's again, in my last stint in Mauritius with regard to as a portfolio manager, we've been dealing with data, and we thought we should somehow come out with a system wherein system should be capable of reading the data across the globe, which are humanly impossible, and the system should tell us what to do, which means the system should be capable of building its own algorithm by self-learning methods. And that's where in 2016, me and my co-founder, we've started off this firm called Hashloop Technology. So what we do is we collect data across the Asian market, North American markets, and European markets, and system collecting the data, and based on the historical time series or historical data, it builds its own algorithms and gets executed, right? So we have tied up with multiple brokerages across the globe, including Europe and the US, and across 80 different markets. And right now, as we talk, we have systems participating in global markets without the need to interfere in the decision-making process. So first 1 year has been the beta stage, and from 2019 we've got a commercial grade product participating in global markets. And so, with regard to the returns per se, 2020 has been the best year, and 2021, of course, after that fall, it would be the best year. But in terms of excess return, so again, we're still in the process of identifying what is the signal and the noise, because these kind of situations are new to any systems. This this state we've never been through, right? And I think next 5 years we go to see, you know the machine participation in global market is going to increase, and it's only the brokers who are going to enable all this, right? So we are a team of 45 based out of Hyderabad, and we are soon coming up with a total tech-based fund. It's going to be a Cat 3 fund, in Asia Pacific. And from idea generation to trade execution is done using technology only. Right?
Sure. So I see one question here, Vishnu, for you. As we see an increase in the HFT players going forward, how difficult it will be in the future to outperform?
So typically, for any quant strategy to perform, the inefficiency for any HFT player is going to be an opportunity for quant. Typically HFT players are limited to earning a spread between the bid and ask. And if you have an algorithm wherein it can juice out more than that, irrespective of latency, I think that's going to be the whole thing. But again, HFT, they have to provide liquidity. But end of the day, bottom line, mm, HFTs are going to be more of AI enabled HFTs are there, provided we have that hardware. And I'm sure we'll have that hardware in a year or two.
Hmm.
But that space is going to be really big, right? Quant guys with not who are not at that latency of less than a second are going to move towards that second layer,
Sure.
1 second
Uh,
participation.
right. Next question is, any estimate of what percentage of global trading volumes are through algos?
So typically in Indian market, or Indian market is the least I say, but in the global market, 90% of the whole trades are systematic trades. Typically starting from HFT to non HFT, and I think hardly 8% is the discretionary, which are manual execution. And Indian market, 75% of the whole trade volume is done through are are used algorithms are used. Right.
Sure. Next question quickly, and I know I'm keeping Gautam waiting. Gautam, just couple of more minutes,
No
because
worries.
audience is quite interested. And Vishnu was kind enough to finish in time for the Q&A to have. So Vishnu, next question. How do you keep a proper control on quant models as they usually fail to perform after some time?
So again, yeah, typically, as we said, as we generate 6 million algorithms a day. In that, 99.99% are actually, they're not a commercial grade. They're not executable grade algorithms. So you should have a solid risk control in practice, wherein discretionary, a human manager should come in place, and they have to set the risk profiles. And after a robust risk profile only, which the number of algorithms which will go through are 10 raised to minus 3, 0.001. Right? So the more we generate, the more are the executable grade algorithm. To
Okay,
generate more, we need more data.
correct.
Right?
So I'll take this as the last question for Vishnu. Vishnu, what are your suggestions for individual asset allocators or the registered investment advisors on how they should consider automated trading systems in their investment strategy?
See, my opinion is, and that's where Hashloop has been there. We not only give advisory to institution, but we also give advisory to a retail level, at a family office level also. Allocate some portion of it to a systematic fund, systematic, which means an algorithm based thing. And these guys are out to overperform. End of the day, if they're not overperforming, they're not executional grade algorithms. Allocate some percent of it, which could be 10 to 15% of it. And historically, these have overperformed, beating the benchmarks by 2 times and 3 times. And to start off with 10% is good. And every registered investment advisor should start using these levels, because tech is only through tech you can have that excess return. And if every registered investment advisor is giving the return equivalent to any other fund which is already there, I think clients should directly go invest into the fund.